The race for the PWHL's Walter Cup is on with 3 Canadian teams in the playoffs. Tonight is Game 4 between the defending champions, Minnesota Frost, and the Toronto Scepters, who are fighting elimination. Meanwhile, the Ottawa Charge beat the Montreal Victoire last night, and they took a 2-1 series lead. Both winners of these matchups are going to face off in the finals. So for more on what to look for, we are joined by Julia Teixeira, host of PWHL's Jocks and Jills podcast. Great to have you in the studio.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is so fun. Usually we're podcasting virtually.
I know, so this is great to have you in one-on-one. Listen, let's talk about the highlights in this series for you so far.
Yeah, between Toronto and Minnesota.
Sure.
Toronto winning on home ice to start the series was awesome. Just the fact that these two teams are playing for a second time in a row, you could really feel the rivalry building from last year's playoff series, because of course last year, this cool wrinkle in the PWHL where the first seed in the postseason gets to pick their playoff opponent. So last year, Toronto actually selected Minnesota to play them in the playoffs. This year they've been served with them. They find themselves on the brink of elimination tonight. Yeah. I think we could expect a lot of offense in Game 4, seeing as Game 3 was the highest scoring game in PWHL history. 12 goals scored in that game. So if you like goals, I don't know how many we're going to see in Florida Leafs tonight, but I think we can expect a lot in Toronto, Minnesota.
Listen, you have emphasized that Minnesota playing Toronto is really a game of redemption. Set this up for us.
Yeah, I mentioned the fact that they played last year is huge. Toronto selected Minnesota as their first round opponent in the playoffs. They go up 2-0 on Minnesota last year, and then the Frost storm all the way back to beat Toronto in Game 5 and then go on to win the first Walter Cup in PWHL history, while Toronto had to sit on the sidelines and watch them celebrate after being the first seed in the playoffs. Natalie Spooner, their leading scorer last year, was also injured in that playoff series, so that really changed things. Toronto had a hard time scoring after that. Like I mentioned, 5 goals scored for the Scepters last game, so offense not an issue. Hopefully both teams could get some goaltending tonight, so the Scepters could keep their season alive and push this thing to a Game 5.
Listen, you mentioned history. Can we talk about this quadruple overtime game on Sunday? In case you're wondering at home, that's an extra 75 minutes. That game was 5 hours in total, and I bring up the length of time because it prompted this image, which has now gone viral. And these are the mustard packets that were taped to the bench on Ottawa's side. The explanation given, of course, is that mustard staves off cramping in players' games, which you can imagine after 5 hours. What's the actual logic behind this? And does this happen regularly?
Yeah, you know what? So for a long time, I was a rinkside reporter before I was a podcaster that hid behind the computer. And I actually used to see stuff like this a lot behind NHL, junior, PWHL, international benches. There's always going to be mustard packages. And there's always going to be a little bit of pickle juice as well. High sodium staves off the muscle cramping. I thought it was hilarious how they had like a museum of mustard going on the bench. That game started at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Mother's Day. It didn't end till after 7:40 p.m. Eastern time. 5 hours and 33 minutes or something like that later. Just so much hockey. I can't believe the girls were even moving after. I was tired and I was just talking.
Yeah, well, I know. I mean, you just think about the physicality of that. The question on everybody's mind throughout this whole season has been expansion. So remind us, which cities are getting their own teams?
Yeah, officially 2025, 2026. Vancouver and Seattle will join the PWHL. So we're headed all the way west. There were a couple really amazing takeover tour games, both in Seattle and Vancouver this year. I got to attend both of them. Yeah. I'd never been to Seattle before. I didn't realize how much that city loves its sports, how much that city loves its women's sports. Nice. Their arena there is amazing. We've seen the reception for the Kraken. So that is going to be fantastic in Seattle. And then Vancouver, like just the site of, I think, the most iconic gold medal. My co-host on Jocks and Jills, Tessa Bonham, won her Olympic gold medal, obviously, in 2010 in Vancouver. Just the site of, feels like a lot of history for women's hockey. We saw Marie-Philippe Poulin score that insane goal off her stomach there earlier this season at the Takeover Tour. So women's hockey is going to be back there in a pro way. I think both those cities are really excited. Ticket sales, season ticket sales are already flying off the shelves in both cities.
I love that. You know what? I love that they are looking back on history and making history at the same time. Great to have you here, Julia.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.